Survivor's ready!
Direct from Hobart, it's time for you to hear those so-called experts from Survivor Oz talk about another reality show, despite the fact they always said they wouldn't ever talk about Survivor. It's The Amazing Race Oz, and here's your host,
Noah Grove.
Hello, people and puffins, and welcome to The Amazing Race Oz, Australia's only Amazing Race podcast. Back for another episode of season 27 of the US version of The Amazing Race, aka the one that's not as good as the Canadian version. We are back for yet another episode. I am Noah, and we are recapping episode 3, and I am joined by 3 different Arslets or Oslets or whatever they're called. First up, he is perhaps best known for being married to a woman who loves to sneeze. It is Colin Hilding. Welcome back.
Yeah, listen carefully, and you may hear a cheese sneeze in the background. If you do, free autographed CD from Fatty Esther in the mail to whoever can pick out a cheese sneeze in the background.
What are your quick thoughts on the episode, Colin?
Quick thoughts. I didn't mind the episode. There's a feud that's starting that's kind of interesting to watch, but I feel like it's taking away from a lot of other stuff that's happening on the show. Either that or just none of these teams other than those two are really giving us anything. So slightly disappointed that there wasn't more going on this week, but may or may not be the fault of the show.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, he is perhaps best known for appearing on The Amazing Race Odds last week. It's Alec Culver. Alec, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That's pretty much all I'm famous for, it seems. So.
What were your thoughts quickly on the episode, Alec?
I definitely thought this episode was better than the previous week, and probably, arguably, the best episode of the season, but still curious how a 20-minute deficit turned into like a 3-hour deficit. That's what I'm confused by.
Yeah. And of course, last but will he be least, we'll find out at the end of the episode, perhaps best known for teaching emus how to fly, it is Jared Lubeck. Jared and Billy, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to know that I can make the impossible come true.
What did you think of the episode, Jared?
I thought it was an okay episode. I liked all the challenges and stuff. The only thing holding it back was just kind of how obvious it was that Ernest and Jin were going to go home.
Yeah. We'll get to them, but I have to say I'm kind of losing a bit of interest in this season. I thought it showed potential in the first one, but then I obviously wasn't here for the second episode, and I wasn't huge on that one. And this one, it had its moments, but it was kind of just a little bit boring. I'm still holding out hope, but comparing this to the first 3 episodes of season 25, it just does not stack up. But let's jump into the episode a bit. And of course, we're still in South America, and we're going to stay in South America. Thank you so much, Amazing Race. That's just what I wanted. So to start off the episode, that they had to get into a pickup truck, which seemed a little bit dangerous, but whatever. And they had to go to La Potina, is that it? How you say it? Who knows? To get their next clue. And they were at a ranch, and they had their first roadblock, who's smoking hot, where one team member had to properly hang 2 racks of lamb and 1 rack of beef ribs onto a set of metal grills to cook the meat. Once the meat was secured on all sides, skewered properly, with the bones oriented in the correct direction to the head cook standard, he would give them their next clue. And I totally did not read that off Wikipedia. So who's smoking hot? This was kind of, it had some moments between the characters. Obviously, we'll jump into Justin and Diana and Douche Bro team, Tanner and Josh. And then we had James Earl and Denise with all that drama that went on there. But yeah, who's smoking hot? Was this the most thrilling roadblock ever, Colin?
I think outside of a little bit of drama, as you said, which is pretty much just the same thing repeated for every team, one mistake they're missing, the roadblock itself was about as dry as your reading of it. I wasn't really a fan at all. It's like, it's just, they set it up by saying it's attention to detail, and it really is. And when it's just the same detail everybody's missing, there's not a lot to go around for the episode as far as entertainment. And the other problem I have, and again, I think this is something just with the cast this season, is that I want to see people emoting a little bit more. Like, let's see them get more frustrated, because it's really hard to care about, how you're making the same mistake over and over again, and you feel like you could never get out of this challenge when you don't really seem to react to it. I just didn't find that any of the teams really seemed to be that stressed about it. I don't think that really helped this challenge at all.
Yeah, I don't think anything really helped this challenge, even the kind of screw up, which we'll get to. Jared, what did you think of Who's Smoking Hot?
I thought it was the second best roadblock of the season, so it can have that title. Yeah, I'd agree that it wasn't that exciting, and I tend to kind of like these attention to detail challenges just as something different, but as far as this goes in the scheme of challenges that test kind of the contestants' mental ability, it was fairly lame. And the most interesting part was probably the dogs trying to eat the meat and just the teams dropping them on the ground, and just, I don't know who would want to eat that kind of after it was all finished.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is someone going to be eating all this meat that these people have been handling, and the dogs? And I didn't think of the end product of this meat. Alec, what did you think?
I definitely agree with Jared. It's the second best roadblock of the season. But I thought it was freaking funny how teams would like choose it. It's like, who's smoking hot? Well, I am, but you're gonna do it. And like,
Diana.
I think it was like, yeah, I think Jin was just like, well, I'm the hot one of us two, so I'm definitely gonna do it. Like, it's just like, I thought that was a little like touch of humor in it, but like overall, it wasn't the greatest. Although we did get something that 27 seasons into Amazing Race we have never gotten before. We got somebody like a penalty because of a roadblock. Like, that's never happened before, and so I thought that was added to a little bit of a drama and stuff like that. And so I know we'll get into that a little bit later, but I thought that was a nice little touch that we had never seen before in 27 seasons. So,
well, it's kind of crazy to think that it never has, because if I was on The Amazing Race with a partner who was screwing up, I would, and I knew how to do it, I would be in there. Like, stop screwing this up. What's 30 minutes if what's a 30-minute penalty if it's going to save us because this person is useless at it? But yeah, that's crazy that never has happened.
I also wonder, with Ernest and Jin, was it just me, or did they identify the animal carcass they were carrying as a turkey? What wild?
I didn't pick that up. Wild is amazing.
Yeah, like what wild turkeys are like, I don't know, stalking them outside of their car, that this is what they identify with, a giant rack of ribs.
Yeah, that's amazing. I did not pick up on that. But yeah, Alec, you mentioned the stuff up, or Denise helping James Earl. First time it's ever happened. That's crazy. Do you have any more thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts 3 episodes in general on James Earl and Denise as a team?
Overall, I thought it was the dynamic is interesting. Like I mentioned last week, how I'm just waiting for them to like blow up and have this big old fight and stuff like that. We got a little bit of it this week, but not as much as they had previewed that we were going to get. Like they had like one little problem when it was like lifting up the horse under the sidewalk and stuff. But I think I thought it was interesting that when they're waiting out the penalty, he's like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. You know, we're not going anywhere." Kind of attitude compared to like getting upset at his mom like she expected him to. But overall, they're going to be a team that I predict at least in the final like 5 or 6. So,
Jared, the screw up. Did you have any more thoughts on that? And are you liking James Earl / and or Denise?
I am definitely liking them as a team. I thought it was interesting that the penalty was only 30 minutes. Considering, like you said, to help somebody out in a roadblock, like that could have saved them heaps of time. Especially if the person's going to keep making the same mistake. I mean, you could be there for hours. So it's interesting that they only got that 30-minute penalty. Yeah, I'm the same with Alec. I'm just waiting for them to have this massive blow up. I think we've seen kind of hints of it happening, especially throughout the last episode. And I mean, I'll be amazed if they can kind of stick around for the long haul. And I just hope that when they do go home, it's just after this massive blow up and it's just an epic downfall.
What about you, Colin?
Yeah, they're the only team really outside of Justin, Diana, and Tanner and Josh who are really getting any significant screen time right now. I think the same thing, that the 30 minutes was pretty lenient on them, but we've never really had somebody spell out exactly how these penalties work. It would be good if next team we get on, we should definitely ask them about that in an interview. But I wonder if it simply comes down to whatever the challenge is, and maybe they had a 30-minute lead based on whoever the next team to leave was, and they calculated based on that. That's the only reason I could think that it would be so little, because 30 minutes is really nothing at all. And like you said, I mean, they could have been there forever. So maybe it's just based on the average of, how long it took other teams to leave.
One thing that also happened at this Turkey challenge was they were really, they've been doing it for the past, since episode 1, I guess, really. They're really setting up this Justin and Diana, or maybe you should even take Diana out of it, just Justin versus Tanner and Josh, like this alpha male butting head kind of thing. They find him annoying. They don't like how he's racing the race. And it's a few other teams don't like them either, but they're really setting up this Tanner and Justin thing, which, yeah, I guess they're trying to paint Justin as a big villain or something. I don't know if I'm the only one who's getting major Jim and Misty vibes from them, of like,
Oh, yeah.
Jim is the ultra competitive, serious type guy who the other teams are kind of like, about, which is a good thing, I guess, because I love Jim and Misty, so I'm enjoying Justin and Diana too. And because I said in my season thing that I wasn't a huge fan of Tanner and Josh, and that maintains, because I don't like those alpha male teams that just win all the time. It just makes for a boring show. But and maybe we'll talk about double U-turns a bit later on. But Colin, what are you thinking about this rivalry? Have you picked a side? Have you Team Douchebro or Team Justin? Do you like that they're setting up a big rivalry, or do you think we should just be watching them running a race and forget about all this drama stuff? And general thoughts on this thing that's pretty much taking over the entire season, really?
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, I think part of the problem is that it is taking all the screen time. And I don't think I would be as opposed to it if it was just handled differently. You know, it's interesting that, coming off of the Amazing Race Canada, and we had the Nick and Matt and Gino and Jesse feud that was done a lot more subtly. And I think the other thing was that it was more playful with those teams. You know, they had fun with it. Whereas it's just, I think it's too serious. And I'm going to say that's Tanner and Josh. That's the reason why I don't really like them. I think a team like Tanner and Josh can be fun on the Amazing Race, the douche bro team, as you call them. They can be fun in the Amazing Race if they have a bit of sense of humor about themselves, and if they don't take it that seriously. But they're just so hardcore on getting rid of Justin, and even at the end, we're like, none of the other teams want them here. It's like, well, so far we've heard from you and nobody else on that. So they're way too intense, and they're not really fun to watch. And I think at the same time, like Justin and Diana, they're kind of oblivious to this feud that's developing, especially with the Express Pass stuff. So if I had to pick one side, it would obviously be Justin and Diana, because they're providing entertainment outside of a feud. And the only stuff we're seeing from Tanner and Josh is, we got to get rid of Justin. We got to get rid of Justin. He's annoying. So give us some variety, because it's just, that's the only thing we saw this weekend. These early episodes are so important to establish the other teams, because what's going to happen is somebody's going to get double U-turn next week. And let's say Justin and Diana end out as being the next team eliminated. you're not even going to want to tune into the show because you don't know any of the other teams.
Yeah. Well, you made a good point that I should mention, that when I say douche bro, I'm not trying to be offensive or mean. Like, you're right, there can be fun teams like Season 9, I'm blanking Eric and Eric's partner
the other
name.
guy.
Jeremy.
Eric
and Jeremy.
Dude too. Yeah, Jeremy. Like, they can be fun douche bro teams if they're fun, really. And not always winning. That's the thing that gets me, is like the 20-something male team that just wins all the time. But yeah, we'll get to the double U-turn, but I just feel like they didn't even establish a one moment where they turned against Justin. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, it all harkens back to the time when Justin stole their taxi or something like. So it's almost in a way been creeping up just randomly, and they have been trying to show some Justin moments, but yeah, it's kind of weird. What do you think, Jared?
I think it's interesting. In my mind, it kind of makes Tanner and Josh a more entertaining team, just because I feel like if there wasn't this feud kind of building up, then I wouldn't have any interest in them as a team whatsoever. And I think as much as they're not my favorites, I like that they're kind of using a bit of strategy. I did like the moment on the bus with I think it was Kelsey and Joey about whoever U-turns the green team will get Tanner and Josh's express pass. I thought that was an interesting way to play it.
Bit of strategy.
Yeah, and I think it makes both Tanner and Josh and Justin and Diana more interesting, because it's something that you can look forward to on future legs, because you know that at some point it's all going to come to a head, and there's going to be a payout for this build-up.
What do you think of the rivalry, Alec? Do you like it? Do you think it's a waste of time? What are your thoughts on these two teams as well?
Yeah, I kind of agree that this is the only thing that's actually making Tanner and Josh somewhat watchable at the moment, because outside of this, they haven't really given us much. But at the same time, I just feel that it's, like Colin was saying, it's too serious. Like we talked about last week, how like Justin at one point said, "Oh, good luck, guys," and they're like, "Oh, we hate him." Like, it's just like there's absolutely nothing wrong that Justin has done other than be competitive. Like, yes, and I do agree they are giving Jim and Misty vibes, but a lot more likable Jim and Misty vibes. And so, like,
come on.
I like them after the episode that they almost got eliminated in, but like, yeah, it's just like this over competitive and like guy and stuff. And as far as like, I do like that Tanner and Josh are using the strategy with the express pass, and I can go into a lot of detail about what I think should happen with the W-turn and stuff, which we'll get to later. But it's just like, I feel it's just so one-sided. Like, they showed at the mat when both teams were there that like Tanner and Josh even said that Justin and Diana are like big threats because they're pushing them to the limit, stuff like that. And Justin says in like some confessional, it's like, they can double U-turn me, I'll just U-turn someone else and I'll still be here to beat them, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
well, yeah, we'll jump to the double U-turn, but that's kind of the flaw in that format. But anyway, after that roadblock, the teams had to take roasted lamb. Bad episode to be a vegetarian. I'm not sure if there's any vegetarians on the leg, but they had to travel to the Plaza Principal and give it to some judges. And then we had another detour in the episode. We had horse or carriage. Horse was, what was it, the polo horse things, and take it, walk it down the riverside across a bridge, which I hate it when the Amazing Race does stuff like this. Like, just get them to play real polo on a horse. The Amazing Race Canada would probably do that. And then carriage, they had to make up clean the carriage and push it as well. Very, very thrilling. Jared, same questions. What would you do? What was better to watch? And general thoughts, how would you improve it? Whatever, the detour, horse or carriage?
I definitely would have picked the polo side of things, and I think that was the more interesting of the two just because they had a little bit more to it. I mean, they kind of had to find their initial place to get changed into their gear, and then they had to go and, I suppose, dress up these fake horses, which I don't know why, but that was kind of entertaining just because the teams didn't expect it to be like that, and we got some good moments with Turner and Josh kind of freaking out that they didn't have things right and not noticing kind of those small details. And the guy on the scene just saying no and to the teams was quite funny because I don't think many of them kind of understood that what was happening. They're like, no. He's like, no. And they're like, so no. And he's like, no. Yeah, I think the other side of the detour was really lackluster, and it felt really just thrown together to me to have them go to this place which seemed to be further away, and that seemed to be the real challenge, was finding the actual place, and then to just have to dust off a carriage I thought was really weak as far as the challenge goes. Yeah, so I think the polo side of things was okay, but I think the carriage side could have used some definite improvement.
We had our first Phil on the scene as well. That was around here. What was the team?
Justin and Diana.
Justin and Diana, our first Phil on the scene. That was pretty good. Colin, horse or carriage?
Oh, well, again, they're both riveting to listen to the description, and they're just as riveting to watch. I mean, I probably would have done the carriage just because there really wasn't the attention to detail in that. It was like, once you dust it off, you carry it. It might be a little bit more physical, but then you actually get a ride after that, so you get to take a break. The horsey one, as Ben would call it, was a little bit too too attention to detail. The reason I didn't like that one as much was because we just came off of a challenge where it was just about attention to detail and every team making the same mistake. And here we're having the same thing again. It just, the pacing of the last two episodes has been very off, not based on anything changing with the editing, but just how the race is structured. It's causing things to kind of feel like it's drawn out more on screen when I'm watching it. So having another attention to detail just didn't really help this episode for me. But I did like, again, that they had to get into the costumes to do basically nothing at all. And, you know, they even came up, the first team, I can't remember who it was, they were like, oh, it's a fake horse. Like, even they were surprised. They're like, why don't you give us something to do? Put us on a horseback. I mean, like you said, if this were the Amazing Race Canada, not only would they be playing polo, but they'd probably be doing it in the middle of water just so that we can get a couple of people panicking.
Or dancing at the same time.
Yeah, dancing polo.
Yeah, that's what the Amazing Race Canada pretty much is, water and dancing. Alec, lay it on me, horse or carriage?
I probably would have done the horse one. So, a couple things about this. This is the classic Amazing Race thing where they have the one detour super far away, but it's so much easier, which was the carriage one in this place. Because I think they didn't even have to carry it like a full kilometer or anything like that. It was like half a kilometer or something like that. Like, it wasn't that far. At least they didn't show how far it was. And then it was and it was a lot easier. And then we have the one that's a lot closer because they pulled the horse nowhere. Like, they pulled it around the corner, it pretty much seemed. And it was a lot. That one was, in quotations, harder because it wasn't really that hard. But I think my favorite part of it all was when Tanner and Josh tried to put the chin strap in the mouth. They're when they go up and look at the example, it's like, oh, it's not in his mouth, it's around his chin. I was like, seriously, why would you put a chin strap in? It's like, who would play polo with a big old metal piece in the horse's mouth? I thought that was that was the most entertaining part of the episode. But yeah, I would have done the horse one. It seemed easier, it was closer, and well, it didn't seem easier, but it was closer and it wasn't that hard. So
we've already talked a fair bit about Tanner and Josh, Justin and Diana. Alec, give me some thoughts on Kelsey and Joey, who came in third, and Logan and Chris, who came in fifth. The anchors and the paparazzi. Do we know anything about these teams?
Okay, so we talked about last week about how these teams might cancel each other out because they're both like,
Media.
reporters and paparazzi. They're both like, media. That was the word. But I actually thought this was probably the best episode for Kelsey and Joey, which is weird because like we still didn't see anything of them. But they went from like 8th to being on that first bus. So I thought that was very interesting. They didn't even describe it other than, we have a good taxi. But they're on the first bus, they finished in the top 3, and they established that like they were the ones that Tanner and Josh were talking to about like, we're gonna give the express pass to whoever U-turns just like the green team and stuff like that. And so I thought that was a very good episode for them. Logan and Chris, I think we saw for about 2 seconds, and that was when they were checking in. Like, because they checked in during the Denise and James like time penalty. So like that's the only just like screen time they got. So I'm not sure about them, but it was a good episode for Kelsey and Joey in my eyes. So
I don't know if I'm the only one who gets massive, like, early to mid-season vibes from Kelsey and Joey. They seem like a team that would just randomly be on, like, season 13 or 14 or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree.
Colin, the media teams.
Well, I agree that Kelsey and Joey definitely were improved this week. And again, maybe this is just an issue with how, the show's being dominated by this feud. But when they checked in at the pit stop, I took a good long look at them. And I have to tell you, had their names not been on screen and I not known I was watching The Amazing Race, you could have shown me their pictures and I would have said those are just some background characters. Because I have no recollection of them prior to this. Like, I couldn't pick them out in a crowd, and we're 3 episodes in, and I think that's a problem. Logan and Chris, slightly better as far as recognition goes. Like, I could recognize them, but they're kind of the epitome of what I was saying earlier. My problem was with the roadblock. Is that when they're getting really stressed, like, this is the type of team I wanted to see more stressed, and maybe that was just the way that they cast this season, that we have so many of these people who are just not really taking it that hard and they're very composed. But I want to see a little bit more stress out of people because I don't think that they're boring people. I just think that they're coming across as boring on the race because we're not seeing anything out of them. Let's see you get a little bit frustrated. I would have liked that a bit more because they've struggled a lot at that first roadblock too. So I would have wanted to see a little bit more emotion from them.
I think Logan and Chris had potential and still do to be like villains almost, but it's not really seeing it. Jared?
I don't mind Kelsey and Joey. I think they have a couple of moments every episode. Not as many as some of the other teams, but I love the whole news reporter thing they did in the first episode. And in this episode, at least they were visible. I think Logan and Chris are probably my least favorite team just because we see nothing from them and I find them really bland and boring to watch. They had one good moment about how they were potentially wearing the wrong pants, like each other's pants during the polo section, but that was it from the whole episode. And I just think that at the moment, like if they went home, I wouldn't care whatsoever.
So that was media teams. And yeah, that's a good point. A lot of these teams, maybe they're not bad, but it's like probably, there's 8 teams left. Probably a good 4 of these teams, 5 even, if they went home, I just wouldn't mind. And that's not a good thing if you compare it to something like season 25. Even last season, there was teams that I didn't want to see go home compared to the ones I did want to. So we talked about them. Let's hear about more thrilling teams. Jasmine and Danielle. Who? Tiffany and Krista. Who? And seeing as they're the only team left over besides the Eliminator, we may as well put Shack Attack on there, which to me, Shack Attack is one of the most disappointments in my eyes because episode 1, they were probably my favourites. I was loving them. I thought they were going to be like some of the stars, and just each episode they're still there, but they're not episode 1 Shack Attack. So I really hope we get to see more of them eventually because outside of Justin and Diana, they're probably my favourite team. Not that that's a hard thing at this point with these teams, but so Jared, Jasmine and Danielle, the best friend athletes, if you didn't know who they were. Tiffany and Krista, the former cheerleaders, and Shack Attack.
Jasmine and Danielle, I don't think there's much you can say about them. I mean, they finished 4th, but it just didn't feel like they were even in the episode or in the race at all, so I'm kind of surprised that they ended up that high in the order. Tiffany and Krista, I don't mind them because they're that team that's... I think they kind of overestimate themselves, and they had that great moment when they left the whip behind and had to go back for it, and that's kind of been their theme throughout the season is making mistakes.
Sucking.
Making mistakes each leg and kind of managing to hold on. Shack Attack are one of my favorites, and it's almost simply because all the other teams call them Shack Attack, which I think is really cool. Just that's their actual kind of hashtag and their nickname, but it's not something that they've just made up and it hasn't got a following. It's a name that all the other teams are using, and I mean they had that moment too in this episode where they just went straight from the detour to the destination and didn't take the riding with them and had to go all the way back. And Rick dominated the roadblock this episode too, because I think he got it out of there like ahead of teams, the first 3 that had been there. So he did really well at that, and I think they have potential to get more airtime on future episodes, whereas I think some of the other teams are just going to continue to be invisible.
I see a bit of potential in Tiffany and Krista. I think they stand out a bit more than some of the other teams. And I think at least, they stand out. They're slightly entertaining. They do suck at most things, but they're definitely skating on thin ice. Colin, I've heard several groans from you throughout this past 3 minutes. So those 3 teams, if you remember who they are.
I remember Jasmine and Danielle. Who are the other ones?
Tiffany and Krista and Chuck.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll start with Jasmine and Danielle. Gyno Tooth. Jasmine and Danielle is still the team that I'm really hoping for us to see more from, because I think there's a lot of potential for them. If we can finally get past this feud, maybe we can see them mixing it up with some of the other teams. Their position's solid this week, so I'm hoping they're going to be competitive. I mean, for the most part, with the exception of last week, they did pretty well so far on the race, and they've been more competitive. So let's see more from them. They seem like a fun team. Cindy and Rick, Gyno Tooth. I thought they were improved this week over last week. Definitely not as good as week 1, but I think they're the type of team that can go against what I said about teams need to be stressing more. Somehow when Rick and Cindy don't stress out, it makes it more tense for me. Like I always feel like there's an explosion waiting to happen. Like there's a ticking time bomb, but they're just really good at holding themselves together. I like that they got lost right before the end of before they got to the pit stop. I thought that was kind of fun. And again, it was somehow more interesting, the fact that they were just really composed. I don't know why. Tiffany and Krista. We are now on week 3.
Here we go.
And we have had 3 mentions of everybody else underestimates us because we're these young girls, or because we're attractive girls, or because we're cheerleaders. We don't need the same narrative every single week. We have yet to hear one team make any comment about you whatsoever. So stop trying to tell us what everybody else is thinking. I said before the season even started, I hate when teams always talk like that. Like, give us some variety, because I agree with you. They could be a fun team. They seem like they have a lot of energy. I don't want to keep hearing about how everybody's underestimating you when nobody seems to be underestimating you.
I think people are estimating them because they've been in the back of the pack all the time. So,
if they're underestimating, it's
people
fair.
estimate us pretty correct.
Yeah.
Fair estimates from everyone in the world. Alec, if you remember those 3 teams, tell us a bit about them if you've got anything to say.
Well, personally, I think these are the only 3 teams that actually get airtime besides Justin and Diana and the Douche Bros. But as far as Jasmine and Danielle, they are still one of my favorite teams. Last week they had a lot to do, and it seems to be that when it comes to an episode where you just finish like in the middle, like you don't have any problems, you don't really get much of an edit, That's kind of what it was with them this week, because theirs was like the bounce back after the really bad week before, and they were the team to check in first of the people that were on the second bus, so that was really good. They had a good placement and stuff. As far as Shack Attack, this week was actually probably, other than that first week, was probably the best week, like edit wise, because they actually showed them doing stuff. Like they barely showed the other teams like maybe changing or like a comic relief thing. They showed like Shack Attack. They were at the high at the roadblock, and then they were at the low at the detour when they forgot the whip, and then the cheerleaders caught them, and they're like, oh dang, like the cheerleaders are here, like we definitely have to work our butts off if the cheerleaders are here, kind of thing. And so I feel like that was kind of a good thing, and hopefully that leads to like a little bounce back for them next week. But I agree, they're probably super entertaining. Outside of Justin and Diana, they're probably my favorite team just because they have the coolest hashtag. Better than Team Texas and Team Alabama and the Cousins.
Better than all the things.
Yeah, they're by far the best one. The only other one that's even decent is the Green Team.
The Green Team.
But and then Tiffany and Krista, like I think I went on like a 5-minute rant last week about them, and it didn't really change much at all. And like, you know, out of the 3 weeks, they have finished second to last place 2 weeks. Yeah. And so the fact that they're saying everybody estimates us, like Colin said, like they have a right to underestimate you if you finish 10th when there's 11 teams and 8th when there's 9 teams. And the only team that was behind you was probably like 3 hours behind you because of a bus. Like,
yeah,
it's just like, and like
they're not sticking around.
They're either not going to stick around much longer. Like I'm predicting like a 7th place finish for them or 6th or something like that. Or they're going to be like the Andrew and Dan and just like slide on their butts all the way to the final 3 because everybody else just seems to have a bad leg and they always are just the same. That was like season 12 or 13 or something like that. Andrew and Dan, they made it to the end even though they finished in the back the whole time.
Yeah. So we've kind of mentioned them a few times here. Let's talk about the team that came in last, Ernest and Jin, which pre-season I thought I was going to love this team. I was not upset to see them go at all. They had a bit of bad luck with the buses, but even then they've been at the back of the pack most of the legs anyway. I thought they were going to be super entertaining. I did not find them entertaining at all through any of these episodes, really, except for a few moments. It's just, like they've got a bit of a story and it's kind of a bit sad, but there's just, I just found them frustrating and annoying, kind of. I'm not sure, Alex. Do you want to eulogize Ernest and Jin? They're out. Are you sad to see them go?
Yes and no, because I'm sad to see them go because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, they were only like 15 to 20 minutes behind the track stars, according to it, even though they edited it like they were like only like 5 minutes behind. But yeah, so the track stars left at like 6:50 or whatever, and they left at like 7:10 or something like that. It was like only like 20 minutes apart, and somehow they missed the whole bus.
Yeah.
And like we're 3 hours behind everybody, and everybody's
Classic
like, oh, they
CJ
must have been
and
so far. Yeah, it's just like, it's just like they must have been so far behind and stuff, and it's just like, but I kind of feel that they were entertaining when they were on. Like they had the story. They were like, you know, had their moments where they're like, oh yeah, that's good. Like the tango is one of my things when like, I think, I can't remember which one it was. I couldn't tell them apart, but like when the one who wasn't doing the roadblock is like, yeah, that's my brother. He loves to dance, like stuff like that. And it's just like, they had their entertaining moments, but as far as like races, they never really took it serious enough. And that's probably the reason why they always like more lackadaisical and stuff like that. Like, you know, hey, I'm the hot one, I should do that. Or like when they're pushing the carriage, where are my dogs at? Where are my dogs at? The dog's like chasing them. What if that dog had rabies? Like, come on, like they're just like, yeah, come on, dog. And like they were entertaining, and I would have loved to see them stick around. But as the overall season, like they were one of the teams we actually got to know, probably because they were out so early. But it's just like, am I sad to see them go? Yes, but I feel like they deserve to go in a sense, as far as them as racers compared to them as entertainers. So,
Colin, you were a big fan of them pre-season.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in between you and Alec as far as my opinions now with them. I do think they're one of the few teams to provide some entertainment so far on this season. I don't think that they really were a letdown as far as their personalities go. Like, we do have moments this week that were really funny. The turkey thing was really funny, and yeah, when he was like, it's like, I'm the sexy one, I should do this. The problem I have is, like you said, Noah, I'm not really sad to see them go, despite the fact that they are one of the more interesting teams there, because they just don't seem to have competitiveness in them, and that's what I didn't expect. I expected two guys who, have this, they say hard background, but let's be honest, this is the second reality show they've been on, so, I mean, I'm sure they've had a couple of breaks in their life. And they're dancers, they have a lot of personality. They should have been a competitive team, and this entire episode, they pretty much knew they were gone, and it just seemed to me like they couldn't have cared less if they were gone. And my biggest beef is what we saw as soon as they checked in at the pit stop, and it was probably meant to be a fun thing for them, but usually these teams are very disappointed, and they bring out a dancing crew for them, and then we see them dancing. Like, if you're eliminated third in the Amazing Race, I don't want to see you celebrating as the eliminated team, and I'm not really excited to ever have them back in the future, despite the fact I think they could be good in the future, because they didn't bring any competitiveness. And when we did see them in the challenges, they were just way too relaxed. Like, if they had the intensity of Justin, they would be one of the greatest teams of all time, but they just didn't even seem to care that they were on the race in the first place.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Jared, say goodbye to Ernest and Jin.
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the fence as well. I think that they did provide some good moments. I love the moment this week where they're in the truck and kind of Ernest is holding on for dear life, and Jin's just there with no hands, and Ernest is having a go at him for not holding on. But I agree that they just didn't have... I don't know if it was that they didn't want to be competitive. I just think they were a bit out of their element, and I don't know why, because you'd expect them to kind of be good at all the challenges and stuff, but they just never felt like they were really in the race. So I did feel that it was always going to be kind of a matter of time before they go home. So in a way, it's better to lose them early on than any of the strong teams just go home over a mistake. The thing with this episode that I don't know if I just missed it, but I swear we just didn't see all of the teams finish the meet. So when they rocked up to the roadblock, I thought other teams were kind of still going to be there, because I swear we didn't see the end teams finish that. And then it was really weird because they're like, oh, we're the only ones here. And I don't know if I just missed it amongst the episode or if they actually just didn't show teams finishing that part of the challenge.
I think there was a lot missing in this episode. Yes, that's the end of Ernest and Jin. They're gone. We'll get to a few closing things in a second. Let's just quickly talk about double U-turn. It's coming. The huge flaw, and we've complained and whinged, or mainly me, but the double U-turn, Justin and Diana more than likely will be double U-turned. They will probably be the second or third team to arrive at the thing. They're gonna just detour, double U-turn another team, and the team that gets U-turned by Justin and Diana will go home. But then they probably won't go home, because normally in episode 4 they've got a non-elimination, and a lot of times when they do double U-turns or even single U-turns, they've got a non-elimination, which makes it completely redundant. Colin, shut me up. Double U-turn.
I'd like to shut you up, but I think you sold me on that's what's going to happen. So good job. I'm kind of dreading next week now, if that's what happens, because...
Oh, sorry.
I don't think I want to do these recaps anymore. Let's just cancel the show. No, I mean, I think it's possible that they may skip the non-elimination just because there's so much that's going to happen in the episode. We know in Express Passes, they basically said they're going to use an Express Pass. We're probably going to have another Express Pass handed out. We haven't really had a clarification if it gets handed out after they use theirs or if it has to be in this leg. I'm not sure, but double U-turn, it may be a little bit too much for one episode. If the show is rigged like some people think it is, or if spontaneous decisions are made often, then I think we see a non-elimination if Justin and Diana somehow are the last place team. But I tend to think it's going to go like you said. They're going to the double U-turn is going to be completely irrelevant when it comes to them because they're going to be near the front anyways. And the U-turn, whenever you have double U-turns, it's not like they're really tough detours either. They try to keep it as even as possible. So I just, again, I would have rather that the show not spelled out for us this big rivalry and maybe surprise us if this is how it's going to go down. Surprise us next week and have the episode start with Tanner and Josh saying, okay, so this is what's going on the last couple of weeks. But having it built up for weeks, if it goes down exactly like the show's been leading us to believe, then I don't think that it was really worth the wait. I think that you pretty much just killed any suspense you could have had.
I'm calling it now. There's no way Justin and Diana go home unless they seriously screw up a U-turn or a detour, one of them. Like, there's no way, because they're such an intense team that they're going to be competing right up to the thing, and they're going to be at the front of the pack. So the double U-turn's not going to affect them because it's a double U-turn. That double means two, so it's going to be like Shack Attack or like whoever's last at the pack, Tiffany and Chris, or someone's going to go home. Logan and Chris, if they even go home, because it's going to be a non-elimination probably. Jared, double U-turn is coming.
Yeah, I'm over the double U-turn. I would love it if we just got back to the single U-turn and made sure that the episode that the U-turn's in isn't a non-elimination leg, just so it has a bit more... It's just so it's a bit more feared and it's just more of a strategic move. I feel there's no incentive to double U-turn people who, especially if they're up high in the order, because that they're just going to U-turn someone else and they're going to stick around and be angry at you the next week. I'd love to see the stats on how often a U-turn team went home when it was a single U-turn compared to now that it's a double U-turn, how often that team that is U-turn second is the team that finishes last. Because I feel like in the double U-turn, the team that is U-turn second is going to finish last a whole lot more often than before when it was a single U-turn. I feel like there was a lot more chance of that team, a team closer to the front of the pack being U-turned and then surviving, than now it's kind of a foregone conclusion that whoever is U-turn second is going to be the team that finishes last on that leg.
If it was a single one, it would make it more intense. And like, say Tanner and Josh were first and they U-turned Justin and Diana, who were second. They've got to do 2 detours, but they're still at the front of the pack, so there's still a chance that they could survive it, rather than just the double one where they're going to get to do it to someone else. Then it would make it more dramatic. I also wonder if Phil tells the teams all the time, the leg before, if it's going to be a double U-turn, because we don't see that often. But Alec, am I wrong about this? What's going to happen with this double U-turn not coming up?
So to give you guys the facts, there's never been a non-elimination leg when there's a U-turn. So I highly doubt that there will be one this time, because it kind of defeats the purpose of a double U-turn. But,
I think that's incorrect.
Do you have some facts to back that up, Noah?
Is that only the American one?
The American one, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in the Canadian or the Australian one it's happened.
Yeah, the American one, when they've introduced the U-turn season 12, and then the double U-turn is introduced season 17. And to talk about Jared's point, so every single time that the U-turn was used on a team, when it was just the single U-turn, they went home, like 100% of the time. So I think that's the reason why they added the double U-turn. And as far as like the second team that got U-turned, I think like it's been like at least one of the teams that got U-turned went home every single time. But as far as like being at the second team that was U-turned, I think it's been like almost half and half, and I think that's the reason why they enjoy. Because I know like the unfinished in this season, like Jamie and Kara used the second U-turn on the Globetrotters, and then Jamie and Kara were the ones that went home. Like, because the U-turn was so early into the leg. And as far as it coming up, I hate that Phil tells them the like at the pit stop the leg before. I loved it. Like, I even hate it when they like open the very first clue. Oh, we're heading to Zambia. Oh, double U-turn in this leg or whatever. I liked it when they got the clue before, like after the first detour, because then they had like less time to think about it. Whereas, like, and that's how it was when it first like came about. It was like, oh, caution, double U-turn ahead. Like, go to this spot and there's a double U-turn there and stuff. And it's just like, oh, we have like the 5 minutes it takes to run over to the spot to decide if we want to use the U-turn or not. Whereas like now it's just like Tanner and Josh are going to be thinking the whole leg about getting to that U-turn first because they want to U-turn the green team and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like this next episode, Justin and Diana will definitely not go home. And if they do, it's because Kelsey and Joey like pull a fast one and U-turn like the douche bros, just so then they can get the express pass from the douche bros, and like so then Justin and Diana can't U-turn anyone. But I feel that it'll definitely be like Justin and Diana will U-turn a team that they know that they can beat, like the cheerleaders or Logan and Chris, stuff like that. And so I feel it's going to be one of those two teams, especially, that'll probably go home in my eyes.
I just feel like the Amazing Race format needs a lot of work, and I'm trying to think of alternatives. I'm not going to bring up Past the Bomb again. I don't even remember what that was, but like, could a triple U-turn work? That might be a bit dumb.
I like the yield a lot better than the U-turn. Just like, the yield was like, oh, they had to sit out for the hourglass.
Yeah, I have issues with the yield because, like, oh, this is thrilling TV. I'm watching people stand at a post. Oh, this is so good. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the yield. Like, I agree that maybe it's better at stopping teams, but it's not that exciting when they don't have to do anything. But what about if they made a rule that if you're the first team to arrive, you have to U-turn a person, and then people might be worried about hurting others' feelings, so they might stand at the post and wait for another team to come and do it or something. Like, could that work if you had to U-turn a team no matter what, if you got there first? Colin, is that crazy?
Yeah, I don't know if it would really be that much different. Well, I do like the idea of maybe forcing teams at the front, because what we usually get is just the last place teams are the ones that want to U-turn because they have to, and all the ones at the front are like, oh, I don't need this. So I actually wouldn't mind the yield, because I think sometimes sitting there and watching a clock run down can be exciting. If it all depends on how the race is going. It could be like this week where James Earl and Denise have 30 minutes to wait out, and you can already tell it's going to be completely insignificant because they're not going anywhere. So I'd probably lean more towards a yield than anything else. But yeah, the U-turn, it really does need to be used differently or have some type of shake-up. I'm not really sure how it could be improved, though.
I don't think we even need it, to be honest. It's probably more exciting when it doesn't happen.
But let's be honest, if we look back at season 26 and also the way that this season's been going, I think they probably need to inject something in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I just like the things we talked about in episode 1, all those cool twists we came up with. That would make for a more exciting show. Let's move on, because we really need to get to these end things. We should talk about the rankings, which I hear, word on the street, that they weren't done last week.
That's right.
Don't know if that's true or not.
That's true. I'm ashamed of my lack of preparation. We need a professional on here.
You needed a Wikipedia. Obviously, Alec, you haven't got them because you joined after, but Colin and myself and Jared are on here, so let's see. Well, we probably have to do last week too, don't we? Oh, extra work. Colin put Alex and Adam at 7th. Kristen put them at first boots. Rossi put them at 5th. Jared put them at 8th. And I put them at 5th. So Kristen gets the point. Hashtag Kristening. And Ernest and Jin. Colin, you've put them at 6th place. Kristen's, she's put them at 7th place. Rossi's put them at 8th place. Jared's put them at 6th place. And I've put them at 7th. So Rossi gets the point. So 2 people that aren't on this episode, because they're live tweeting football or something when they've got a migraine apparently. But anyway, I'm joking. So that makes Kristen Rossi, you've got a point, and someone from week 1 also has a point. We are so prepared in these recap episodes. Let's check in with... Well, there's nothing much to check in with. Natural Born Lady Hustler.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a
Too
bit
busy
worried.
on The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. She was tweeting regularly in June every day, and then June 7th, we ain't getting no younger, ... Last tweet, June 7th, after tweeting so regularly. I can only think that her and Sheeta are on The Amazing Race 28 filming right now, because she's June 7th, last tweet. I don't know what's happened. What's happened to Natural Born Lady Hustler? Bit worried.
I just can't
so
wait.
we'll check in again next
I can't wait if it is true and we get hashtag Team Natural Born Lady Hustlers.
Yeah, hustlers, yeah, because you can't forget Sheeta.
Yeah.
If no one gets what we're talking about, listen to our pre-season episode. Let's get a hashtag for Ernest and Jin, and let's also get a hashtag for this episode. I don't know if I mean this episode right now or this episode of The Amazing Race, but whatever you want to do, Colin, while I hit the clock.
Hashtag for the episode, I'll go with hashtag Jared's dog Billy for host. If anybody wants to know, well, I guess you never will know, but inside joke. And hashtag for Ernest and Jin, let's say hashtag mutant turkeys.
That's
Jared?
Hashtag for the episode. Hashtag double turn dilemma. And Ernest and Jin. I didn't. Hashtag I work.
I don't know if it was just on my end, but you kind of dropped out. But we'll
That's
take
the way
it.
he meant it to be. Hashtag.
Yeah, I was 3 hours behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one, Jared. That was a good creative.
That's his way to get out of the hashtag game. Instead of just saying he doesn't play the game, he just cuts
Yeah.
out halfway through.
Oh yeah, he's not Christian. Alec, give me some hashtags.
Hashtag for I totally lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, hashtag for Ernest and Jin. I'm going to put sexy dancer dogs, just because those are like the 3 best moments of this episode. But and the hashtag for the episode that we're doing is Noah needs to check Wikipedia more often.
Yeah. We've lost all credibility.
Noah didn't even watch The Amazing Race, as you could tell.
Yeah, remember season 25 when I took notes? That was the glory days.
I still don't take notes, but
Yeah. Alright, this is not something we normally do, but why not? We forgot to do things last week. Let's add things this week. This is kind of a Survivor thing, but I don't know if we'll continue on with this or if I'm just doing it this week because I feel like it. But Colin, at this point in the race, who is your tip to win? This is a quick fire question.
Oh, let's see. I don't think it's going to be either of the 2 front runner teams. I'll just kind of have to pick somebody at random, and I'm going to say the way the season's been going, it's going to be Kelsey and Joey, and I won't even recognize them when they win the race.
Jared, tip to win?
I think Justin and Diana have a good shot.
Alec.
I still am sticking with Jasmine and Danielle as the tip to win.
Who is the dark horse team that could potentially slide through, Alec?
I'm going with Kelsey and Joey with that one.
Jared?
Let's say, and it would be a real surprise, Krista and Tiffany.
Ooh, surprise.
Wow.
Hashtag blindside.
Yeah. Colin, dark horse.
I was going to say the same thing. If people keep underestimating them, then they're just going to slip right in there.
They might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colin, at this point in the race, who do you think will be next to go? Kind of impossible with the W term, but guess anyway.
I'm going to go with Tiffany and Krista. I'm putting lots
So
of...
they're your next to go.
Yeah, I'm putting a lot of thought into it this week. I'm still trying to remember who the other teams are. Forgive me.
Jared, next to go.
I want some more points, so I'm going to say that Denise and James are going home next.
Ooh, Alec.
I'm going with Logan and Chris because I still don't know who they are. But I feel that they're going to be the ones that are going to be U-turned by Justin and Diana, if anyone is. So.
At this point, obviously it's only 3 weeks, so this could change. But which team at this point would you most likely want to see on a future All-Star season, Alec?
I think that's a given. Like, it's obviously Justin and Diana because the doucheballs are the only other team we'll get, and everybody hates them. So.
Yeah, Jared.
Yeah, I'd agree. Justin and Diana. I'm coming around to them. I think if you're on the race with them, I could see why they would be annoying, but I think as a viewer, they're just having so much fun throughout the experience. So, yeah, I'd like to see them back.
Colin, is it 3 for 3?
Yeah, it is, but also they're obviously a lock at this point after 3 episodes. They're on the next All-Star season, no question about it. But I think you could definitely make a case for Denise and James Earl Ray Jones or whatever his name is. But I think they're definitely standing out as stars too, especially after this week.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. And Colin, finally, which team is most similar to you? If you, this is a dumb question. If you were on the race, which team would you like to think would be like you? I don't know. Answer the question. This is a dumb question.
It would really depend on my partner, I guess. But
well, say it's Jamie.
Yeah. Well, that's a really tough one because Jamie has always said that if we go on the Amazing Race, she'd do whatever she could to do nothing at all. So I'd probably have to say Ernest and Jin.
Seven, Justin.
Yeah, Ernest and Jin, unfortunately.
I keep telling you, you have to apply for Amazing Race Canada Season 4. Applications will close.
First boots. We're your first boots.
I think it's worth it to be a first boot, isn't it? You'll just get out of Winnipeg. It'll be thrilling.
I would be Justin and she would be Ernest and Jin.
Yeah, well, that's kind of cheating, but we'll roll with that. Justin, Ernest, and Jin. Jared, you and your sister are on the race. Which team are you going to be most like?
We'd be invisible and bland and boring, so probably
Kelsey and Joe.
Yeah, them or Logan and Chris, one of the two.
Alec, you and one of your friends is on the race. Which team are you most likely going to be like?
Most likely, I'd actually take my brother.
No, you and your brother are on the race.
I would probably say like Track Attack, most likely, because we'd make stupid mistakes here and there, but we try to run at least, and they're actually giving us something. So
I think I would go on the race with Ben Waterworth, and we would be Alex and Adam.
I thought you'd be Kelly and Siobhan.
Oh, yeah, he would be Kelly and Siobhan. Yeah, let's not go there. That's it. That was the dumbest question ever asked on this show. That's it. I don't know if we'll ever do those questions again, but we need some more content from Natural Born Lady Hustler, so who knows. Next week, we're off to Zambia. We're out of South America. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Let's hope we don't go back there in Amazing Race. That's it. Subscribe to our feed. We're called Survivor Oz, not Amazing Race Oz, but we're on there. Follow us on Twitter, and follow all the contestants on Twitter. I'm not going to go through all their names, but they're all on there, so make sure to chuck them a follow. And we should be back next week, hopefully with some prepared notes as well, and I'm really hoping this season picks up because it has so much potential, but I feel like it's going to fall flat like most other American seasons nowadays, except for season 25. That's it. I've been Noah. Colin, thanks for being here. Any tease up for next week? Anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
No, but if anybody has been wondering what Kristen thought of this episode, this live tweet from earlier this evening may have been a reference to The Amazing Race, where she said, well, this game has turned out to be much more of a snooze fest than I expected. I'm assuming that's The Amazing Race and not the NFC East, as she's saying.
Plot twist, Kristen is Natural Born Lady Hustler. You notice Kristen's tweets picked up a lot on June 8th, and Natural Born Lady Hustler stopped on June 7th, so...
I think we all
I'm
noticed
calling
that.
it now. Yeah. Alec, thanks for being here. Do you want to tease up anything or say anything? We're saying goodbye.
I'm sorry that Kristen got stuck in the dungeon this week and couldn't join us. But,
He hasn't left.
But yeah, I hope she's just on special privileges this week. That's why she couldn't join us. Yeah, I'm sad that this season has been as slow as it has been, and hopefully it'll pick up in the next episode or two. Hopefully this double U-turn will pick it up because I'm missing some scenes that I've.
There we go, cheese.
That was it.
I heard a cheese thief.
That was it. So that, you know what that means? Whoever's listening to this, let us know your name and address, and Noah will send you an autographed CD of Fatty Esther.
Plus, you have to send postage.
That's
money.
right.
I'm poor. Cheese thieves. Had to fit one in just before we left. Thanks for that, Jamie. Always making her mark on Amazing Race Oz podcast. And Jared, not to be overshadowed by the cheese sneeze, but thanks for also joining. And if you've got anything to say, any dogs you want to bring on, any sneezes, whatever, now is the time to do so.
No problem. I'm looking forward to next week. I don't think this season has been terrible, and I think it will get better.
Cool. As I said, next week, Zambia. We're out, South America, and hopefully we'll be back. Hopefully more cheese sneezes from Jamie. Let us know what you thought of the show. Let me know if that was the dumbest question ever asked at the end of this show. And that's pretty much it. Until next time, keep on roasting your turkeys and keep on hoping that this season picks up a bit. And we'll speak to you next time on The Plane.